I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
What job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
We just got our shipment of logos here in for our next event, which is going to be the mixed doubles. As you can see, there's a few of them. There's roughly 20 logos per sheet to be put in for the mixed doubles, along with a couple extra little dots. But all our logos come from Jet Ice. They are the best logos to put in. We use them around the world, and they're very easy to install. As you can tell, this is the Center Ice logo that's going to be going in for the world. This is about a 4-footer by 10. It's going to look like $1 million. Their colors on their logos are always nice and vibrant. And like I said before, very easy to put in. We just got our shipment of logos here in. We've had some questions about if our houses are painted or are they logo. Our events are always painted houses, but in the future coming out, I'm pretty sure we're going to be going to all logo houses. They're a great revenue source for any curling club. You can get your advertisements on there, and usually after the first year, the houses are paid for. It's all free money for you. So hopefully check Jet Ice out for your future in-house logos.
Shoot, I have to refresh the composition. I'm not hearing any Lisa. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everyone. We have got a quarterfinal matchup here this morning. Team Bernath playing Team Laycock. I don't think the score is 3-4 yet. I will have to adjust that. My name is Rory McCusker. I am your curling stream video producer, controlling the cameras here that you see, taking a peek in to the Swift Current Curling Club, the S3 Group Curling Stadium Series. These two teams been duking it out since Friday this week.
Hello.
Hello, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm joined by Lisa Parent here on the commentary. Little quarterfinal action, sheet 5, Swift Current. Lisa's getting an early scope of the ice for her tournament next weekend.
Yeah, that's true. I should probably be paying some close attention, eh?
Well, here's my hint for you. The ice has been really good from the games that I've been seeing. Lots of movement where you need it. Things have been curling across the center line quite aggressively, but lots of good shot making. So as a viewer, that lets me know that the ice conditions are pretty good. Teams are getting into that kind of dialed in state, that phase where they learn the sheet quite well. And by the middle of the game, there's not a lot of surprises for the sweepers or throwers. Sorry, Lisa, I'm just realizing you can't see the game. We'll try to get you a view there ASAP. Team Laycock starts with hammer this morning. They do have a corner guard to work with. Team Bernath has control of the house right now, but with no center guards in play, and with Team Laycock in the hack right now, Team Laycock will have a few opportunities to create this corner guard setup that they've given themselves early on. Second, Chris Heichert, also the club manager here in Swift Current. We'll try to make a little tap back freeze shot around the corner guard here. And will he tap it back for shot? Perfect. Very well managed stone there. Team Laycock will get second shot behind cover. Able to tap that Bernath stone all the way to the back 12 foot. It's enough for second shot rock, which was always the goal. Second rock thrower for Team Bernath, David Baum. Will attempt a hack weight hit around that guard. Team Bernath chasing that Laycock stone around the corner guard. They will get it, and they'll roll to the 4 foot. A perfect result. At this point in the end, Team Bernath, without a center guard, pretty satisfied in creating a force scenario for Team Laycock. Of course, Team Bernath could throw a center guard at any point here, try to steal a point or maybe make the force a little more difficult. But looks like in this first end, Team Bernath is pretty satisfied with chasing Team Laycock around the rings, making sure there's no easy shot for two. As things stand right now, someone will be scoring. Team Bernath would prefer that to be Laycock scoring one. Didn't quite get the roll there.
I hear something.
Yeah, there's levels on commentary.
I got ambient at least. Haven't heard commentary yet.
We're for agriculture. For growers, doers, whatever it takers. We're for doing things with purpose. We're for the little guy with big guy dreams. We're for agriculture. We're for you. Nutrien Ag Solutions, leading the field.
Had some questions about if our houses are painted or are they logo. Our events are always painted houses, but in the future coming out, I'm pretty sure we're going to be going to all logo houses. They're a great revenue source for any curling club. You can get your advertisements on there, and usually after the first year, the houses are paid for. It's all free money for you. So hopefully check Jet Ice out for your future in-house logo.
Hello everyone, so sorry about that, we had some technical difficulties. We should be good to go now. So, for everyone who doesn't know, I'm Lisa Parent, and I am a curler out of Alberta, and I'm actually going to be playing in Swift Current next weekend, so excited to see how these teams do and see what the ice does. So Laycock looks like they got one in the first end. And I may need to brush up on my Saskatchewan curling teams a little bit, but I believe Bernath is like a younger team. Vaguely remember them playing juniors when I was in juniors, so a few years ago. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong. So Laycock's just playing the wide draw around. Looks like it's coming in a little bit tight. But they managed to squeak it by, and that's a beauty. Looking at a type of short run back here, there's no great way to hit that. I'm assuming they're trying for the one that's top four. It's kind of a weird angle with that other red being there. It's kind of a little bit of a problem rock, actually. Wow, that was a beautiful shot. Probably couldn't have hit that any better. It was just a nice controlled run back, which a lot of teams I find are starting to play more and more. Just the, 10-5 run backs rather than the throw it as hard as you can and see what leaves the house. Pretty close double run back for Team Laycock. That was pretty close. Thank you to everyone tuning in early this morning. It's lovely to have you all here. I'd love to hear who you're cheering for, where you're from, how your Thanksgiving is going. Judging by the ice they're taking, it seems like they're playing just a soft tap on their own rock. Wow. A couple beautiful shots by Team Bernath in a row there. That was very well played.
That was a gutsy call, Lisa.
Yeah, no kidding. I personally wouldn't have called that. I'd be a little too scared, but if you know you're going to make the shots, then you might as well play them.
Yeah, if you know what the best result is and you're confident in going for it, hey, why not?
It's all about the confidence for sure.
And they know who they're playing today. Sean Meacham, Braden Stewart, Chris Heichert. These are guys that are very familiar with the ice here in Swift Current. It's the home club really for Meacham for a few years, and Chris Heichert, of course, the manager here. So, respecting your opponent, knowing that your opponent will be making most, if not all, of their shots, you have to put the initiative on yourself to match that with some aggressive tactical decisions.
How do you expect that they went into this game in terms of pre-meeting? What kind of stuff would they say to each other before playing a team like this?
That's such an awesome question. These teams, everyone's a little different, I find, with how much they plan before the game. I've played for skips that really, they want to plan every shot of that first end out to a tee. They know exactly what they want to happen in the first couple ends. You know, they have that in mind. And I've also played with guys that don't like thinking too much about that, or kind of just preparing themselves to adjust for the situation and whatever they want to do. So, you know, I'm not too sure. My teams historically have been kind of just get out there and just feel the ice and try to keep track of your own shots instead of worrying too much about that. So if they were having discussions about that kind of thing, it would be beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, I mean, I've always approached it kind of knowing what you're going to do in the first end, assuming you know who you're playing. Sometimes you get thrown a wild card and, you know, it's an out-of-province team and you don't know exactly what their strategy is going to be like. But for the most part, it's good to have some decisiveness, I guess, in the first end. Just so you kind of, you know, put your foot down and show the other team you know what you're doing. But a lot of teams are really good at just winging it in a way and knowing what to do when it happens. So
yeah,
I guess it's really dependent on the team for sure.
I would agree with that. That's a good way of saying it. Steve not quite able to get the roll there they were looking for.
Yeah, and the ice looks great so far. Just after the few rocks that I've seen, it seems like it's curling pretty consistently, and the teams.
Yes.
I mean, obviously they've been playing all weekend, so they're used to it now, and they're able to make those more precise shots even in the second end.
The conditions have been really good. The reason I say that is because I've just seen some very consistent shot making. When sweepers are operating that confidently and you know, sweeping their skips last stone draw right to the pin over and over again like that, you get a hint that the ice is behaving quite well.
So just a hit and roll here from Bernath. Or is this last rock? I can't tell.
Well, this is Damon's first.
Okay.
I have a bit more of a view than Lisa does, so I can see the remaining rocks in the corner there. Damon's
Just a
first
nice,
one,
easy, controlled hit.
Really trying to roll out to the wing there. They had the inside sweeper going on that stone the whole way down. Made sure not to leave any kind of easy hit and roll back for Steve Laycock. Team Bernath saying, okay, Steve, or if you're going to try to take this end away from us, it'll have to be with a draw to the button. Doing
This
really
puts them
well.
This puts them in a little bit of a tricky situation, I would say. Puts the pressure on them early, which is great.
Team Laycock could always try to save the end in a different way. They could make a little tap freeze around the center guard here, but of course it's just so risky. You might leave a shot for 3. They've decided they'll make Team Bernath earn their 2 points, limit the damage to a maximum of 2 by chasing this rock out on the wing.
Yeah, and 2 points this early is not a big deal. You're down 1, and all you need is a deuce to be back in the game. So it's probably the safer option to just, you know, limit the amount of points scored this end. Looks like this might roll out.
Like you said, not a huge deal. That rock sticking around in the rings, all that would do is cut down the amount of space Daymond has to draw to. So, draw to the 12-foot, draw to the 8-foot. Not a big difference here for Daymond Bernath.
Yeah, it gives him a good opportunity to feel his draw weight without a ton of pressure. Relying on the sweepers just to get it in the house, but also just he'll be paying a lot of attention to how it feels when he throws this.
Yeah, these draws in the first, second, and third end are really important for the whole team to get a good sense of what it's going to be like for the rest of the game. You're very likely going to have to throw a few more of these. So it's really important, like you said, get a good feel for it. Sweepers, throwers, line caller, everyone.
It's always good when the sweepers are cleaning right off the bat.
These bright lime green brooms are really significant. I'm taking notice that Team Bernath has here.
I didn't actually notice that, but yeah, they're nice. They match their jackets too, so. I've been seeing more and more teams with the custom brooms and the matching brooms.
Well, score 2 puts Team Bernath ahead, 1-0. Or 2-1, I should say. Laycock will have the hammer in the third end when we come back.
We've had some questions about if our houses are painted or they logo. Our events are always painted houses, but in the future coming out, I'm pretty sure we're going to be going to all logo houses. They're a great revenue source for any curling club. You can get your advertisements on there, and usually after the first year, the houses are paid for. It's all free money for you. So hopefully check Jet Ice out for your future in-house logo.
Welcome back to Swift Currents, where we have some quarterfinal action here for you this morning. Team Bernath out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Team Laycock out of Swift Currents, Saskatchewan. Duking it out here.
Before you came back into the stream, I was talking to myself about Bernath. They were a junior team not too long ago, correct? Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I remember they used to I believe I watched them playing Clyder in a provincial final, and I remember thinking this team is gonna be so good one day, just for their age and how skilled they already were. So it's good to see them playing in these men's events already, and I'm assuming they've aged out already of juniors, but yeah, I stand by my word. They seem like quite a solid team.
Yeah, and they went through a streak even while they were still in juniors of entering men's fields and winning them. So that feeling you had, I think, was pretty well justified, Lisa.
I like to think I have pretty good judgment.
Yeah, really impressive, taking on top-tier men's teams on the tour, not just Sask Tour, but World Curling Tour, and winning quite a few games. So finding their stride for sure, like you said. And I think quite a few people took notice of them right away. Good to see another up-and-coming Sask kind of talent.
Yeah, and it seems like there's tons of them coming out of Saskatchewan nowadays, so that's really awesome to see.
Absolutely. So Team Bernath winning both Sask Provincials held in the same year, that kind of catch-up COVID year that they had with 2 tournaments in the same year.
Yes. Okay. So the world qualifiers, it was called, right?
Okay.
I think the earlier event was called the world qualifiers. I'm not sure why. It was basically just provincials and nationals, but
Whatever they had to call it.
It was a good opportunity for teams to get in on that missed out year, which was great.
So Team Bernath taking that tournament and then the regularly scheduled kind of Sask Provincials after that, winning both.
So Rory, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Because I mean, we just met on the stream, so I'd love to just know where you're from.
We'll have a live meeting here. Yeah, well, my name's Rory McCusker. I used to work full-time for Jerry Gertz and Curling Zone. That was when this idea of putting cameras in these curling clubs and following the kind of big name bonspiels that weren't televised. This idea was always on the table. How can we get in these clubs, set up some iPads or something, and live stream this stuff? Well, then we started seeing in the late 20-teens, teams and coaches putting the suction cup up on the glass and getting their phone or iPad recording the game, and we could see, hey, maybe this idea isn't as complicated as we thought it might be. Maybe we don't need to buy $100,000 worth of broadcasting equipment and drive a truck from stadium to stadium and produce it that way. So we started to think about it a little more avant-garde, a little more kind of simple, and in line with what the available technology was. And doing the hard work here, John Benton of the United States, club manager at the Four Seasons Curling Club, he was really the driving force in kind of getting a prototype going. Staying in contact with Jerry, we knew that this was always something we kind of wanted to do, and so James Gordon volunteered to help set up and really learn the tech and back end of this technology. And so Jerry and James and John went all in and really just committed themselves to making this curling stadium live a thing, and I was able to keep in touch with them and participate as much as possible, helping produce games. I myself have a film video and media degree from the University of Regina, and so that kind of helps me understand how these broadcasts can go down. Yeah, so that's kind of my story, Lisa, is just the curling fan and competitive curler myself turned guerrilla broadcaster. And what about yourself, Lisa? Where are you speaking to us from today?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta right now, and it's interesting that you say you have a film degree, because I'm at Mount Royal University right now. I'm in my final semester, just studying broadcast media studies. So all this stuff is really interesting to me, and it's awesome because I'm also a competitive curler, so it's fun to incorporate two things that I love to do. So I feel lucky that I get to do this and also do it in the comfort of my own home. But yeah, and I'm actually, I've said this before on a live stream, I'm skipping my own women's team this year, and I'm a very new skip, so it's interesting to me to hear everybody's perspective on strategy, and I also feel it's a great opportunity commentating to learn more, because there's just a lot that I don't know, but I'm excited to learn. And and I'm also in Swift Current next weekend as well, so I'm really excited to get out there and play some of these really good Saskatchewan women's teams. I love traveling, curling and traveling, so it'll be exciting.
Yeah, awesome. I totally agree with you. What a great way to combine your passions.
Yeah, completely. Like, I feel very lucky. So I'm looking at quite a few Red Rocks in play right now in the house. But Laycock seems to be, they're in control of the control zone right now. They have a few rocks up, tight guards, so there's some run back opportunities.
Yeah, as a team without hammer in general, your goal is to clog up the middle, make things tough on your opponent, not only to create their own multi-score end, but with the last shot in mind. You're hoping, as a team without hammer, that your opponent is interrupted in their ability to draw the button or draw the forefoot to save the end. So what you're looking for there is some overlapped guards, some guards with separation, just making things as difficult as possible for the team with hammer to clean up. So you can see Team Laycock trying to figure out how they're going to clean this mess up. How can we do this with one rock or maybe just two rocks before our opponent has a chance to re-solidify that center line? So as we can see, we got some overlap on those stones. If you're going to run those back, you don't have much control over which direction they go. They're pretty loaded up. So Team Laycock right now is kind of puzzled, trying to figure out how they're going to clear out that center line and of course, at the end of it all, find a way to score multiple points. It's a big challenge because Team Bernath has done a good job at occupying the valuable scoring areas.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things to me is just having the hammer versus not having the hammer, and each team trying to force the other to play that end their way. And I think the teams that are most effective at forcing the play in their favor is usually the team that makes the most out of the end. So me and my team have personally been working a lot on, when we have the hammer, how do we get that play to the side? Because many teams are becoming more and more aggressive with those center guards, and it can be so difficult to even use those corners at all when you have the hammer, because there's just so much junk in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams make use of the hammer when they have it, and how they're able to get the play over to the sides.
Very good point, Lisa. That's exactly it. Oop, wrong camera there. It's a little better. That is exactly it. My junior team, this is before the 5-rock rule, which would have helped us out a lot. We would throw 2 corner guards almost every end. Tie game scenario, up a few points, down a few points, didn't matter. Corner guards, 2 of them, every single time. The reason we were doing that is because I think we learned at some point in some way that if you have hammer and you want to score multiple points, you want to make sure that someone scores and that you can set up a big end, you throw 2 corner guards. We just learned that somewhere, sometime, and just took it as our default strategy. Well, guess how many times out of 10 we were actually able to use those 2 corner guards? Almost never.
Yeah.
Because we had a plan to throw the 2 corner guards, but we never really had a plan at how to address the 2 free stones we were giving our opponents to throw down the center of the ice. And so over and over again, I'd be throwing last stones. I'd be looking at a total mess in the rings. I'd be looking at those 2 corner guards we had thrown previously, and I'd think to myself, why did we ever dream that we were going to be able to use these things when we had no plan at how to address the opponent's plan down the middle? We basically were forcing ourselves to make a run back or like a long double or hope for a miss almost every end, and we just weren't getting it. So sometimes you can repeat the same horrible strategy over and over again until you understand why it is and isn't working.
Well, and sometimes you just need someone to kind of give you a little slap in the face, metaphorically, and tell you, like, how many times have you done this and how many times has it worked? Because sometimes you think something's working and then you realize, I'm having to make these next to impossible shots every end. Maybe it's not that I'm a bad curler. Maybe there's something off in my strategy, because the best case scenario is that you're giving yourself easier shots to make, not impossible ones. And yeah, I don't know. I'm becoming a big fan of bunting rocks into the rings or ticking them early, because I think ticking used to be a kind of thing that was reserved for the last end when you were up a bunch of points. But I'm seeing it now as kind of a way to make more use of your corner guards, especially if you have a good lead that can make those shots, 9 times out of 10, then I think it's honestly a really good option to make more use of them.
Well said, yeah.
Either that or you have to be really good at double and triple peels.
Exactly, yeah. Well, 2 shots in a row here. To manage the line, the sweepers had to go a little bit. And as a result, unfortunately, two shots in a row here have come deep into the 4-foot. That in this 3rd end here, we might be seeing the ice change a little bit. Some paths starting to develop, some quicker paths, letting the rocks glide a little further, especially when you have those low center guards, which are somewhat interrupting the draw path to the button. Forced to take a little bit of a wider path, and once that gets developed, the rocks tend to sail a little bit. So both teams getting caught here. The adjustment here will be to take a little more ice, throw a little more rotation, give your sweepers more time to work with the stone, where they're not dealing with the danger of wrecking the center guard. So Daymond Bernath will try to make the adjustment here. It's very interesting to hear, Lisa, that your team is practicing already, focusing already on managing the start of the end like that. It's a very good thing to practice, and especially when you're entering your competitive season or starting your tournaments for the year. Just practicing that start of the end or those first couple rocks, that'll at least get your feet under you. And like we were talking about before, if you ever do have to kind of just think on your feet or wing it, well, at least you've practiced the start of the end. You know what a steel setup, a blank setup, a force setup is going to look like for your team. So it's smooth practice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we do have a really good handle on what the first few rocks would look like. And now we're kind of working on, okay, how do we stick to the plan throughout the end? Because oftentimes I find as a new skip, I kind of lose sight of what the real goal is. And that kind of, I lose that like in the middle of the end. Whereas at the beginning, I usually know exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, it's super important to know what you're going to be doing with your leads rocks. And I also think that just helps the lead understand that their rocks are essential, because sometimes I feel like maybe they don't feel that way, which it's super important to make your lead understand that like their rocks are going to set the tone for the rest of the end, and they need to make them. So it's always good having a very strong idea of what you're going to do in the first few rocks.
No, that's a great point, Lisa. And you know what? It may have even been true in curling for a long time that the lead was clearly the least important position, especially when teams were really just kind of chucking hits the whole end and trying to make maybe a roll or a tap or a freeze later on in the end to get their 2 points. In today's game, you said it. The leads rocks are so vitally important, especially as you get up or down 2 or 3 or more points. A tie game scenario, perhaps you can afford a miss here or there, or you can just kind of probe the opponent. But when you're down points, those lead rocks absolutely have to be in the free guard zone for you to have a chance at making something happen.
Yeah, especially with the I'm not sure if they're using this rule here. I probably should have brushed up on that, but the no tick.
Not this weekend.
Not on the center line? Okay.
Yeah. Next weekend, however, I think you will be playing with that.
Oh, okay. I was very against it at first when I heard it, and then I ended up playing it last weekend in Vernon, and I liked it more than I expected to. Just because it really engages your in putting that rock perfectly. Like, you have to place it right on the center line, and I don't know, it just added this interesting strategic aspect. It made the first few shots just a little bit more interesting, and just engaged everyone more. So I kind of enjoyed it, and I guess, I don't know, maybe I will change my mind on that, but for now I don't mind it. What about you? How do you feel about that?
I think you've just shown me that I'd have to play it to truly understand it, because I think I like it right now, but what you just described is really interesting, and yeah, I bet I would have similar thoughts as we kind of played it for the first time.
Yeah, it became more of a discussion in the first couple of rocks, which I thought was great. Even with the other team, like, asking me, okay, well, is this rock on the center line? We had to make a few calls on if it was even touching or not, but it's just more engagement in the lead rocks, which I thought was kind of fun.
The other thing I'm thinking of with that is how often center guards are accidentally ticked. I mean, that's very common. You're playing
so
to the 4-foot line, lots of hack weight shots or something like that. The way I've always played those ends as you're coming to the middle is the way that I justify it is when I have hammer is well, at least if my team wrecks on the center guard, we'll tick it out of the way, and that'll be a fine result. So I'm going to go ahead and make this hack weight come around call. Well, the no tick rule is going to have to change that skip's idea there, because no longer is that accidental tick an acceptable result.
Yeah, you're like 1,000% right. It changes the tolerance on your lead shots, because I think most people play that the way, whereas if you tick the center guard and you have the hammer, it's not a huge deal. But now you kind of need to be more careful about where you put the broom and really forces your lead to make their shot perfectly, which is something that sometimes leads don't have to deal with. Obviously, skips do. If you don't make your shot perfectly, then oftentimes it's not a good shot. Whereas now the lead kind of, they're forced to make it perfectly. They need the perfect weight, they need the perfect line. It might challenge leads more, which I think is a good thing at the end of the day. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog scratching in the background.
That's okay. My cat loves to jump on this laptop, so if commercials start running in the middle of the end, it was my cat.
And press all the buttons.
Well, we've got a really interesting last rock here in the third end. Steve Laycock, an in-off this orbiter, this nearly along the boards rock. You don't see this very often.
No, it is
on it hard.
Up.
Wasn't quite able to get there. It's not a look that a thrower is used to seeing. A full weight shot at the boards. Like Steve Laycock was not able to make the in-off. Looks like it'll be a steal of 1 or 2 for Team Bernath.
I believe it was 1.
I believe it was 1 in the top of the forefoot there. Really impressive control by Team Bernath there, maintaining that setup in the center line, forcing Steve Laycock to some very difficult shots. They will lead 3-1 after the third end. Steve Laycock will have the hammer in the fourth.
We're for agriculture. For growers, doers, whatever it takers. We're for doing things with purpose. We're for the little guy with big guy dreams. We're for agriculture. We're for you. Nutrien Ag Solutions, leading the field.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Welcome back to Swift Current. That was a very interesting end we had, Lisa. You and I were catching up, talking about strategy, talking about skipping, but
it was a lot. There was a lot going on.
In the meantime, these teams were clogging up the front of the rings, a million guards up front, none of them seemingly available for run-back opportunity due to the overlaps and separation that they had. So by the time it was third Sean Meacham's stones, Team Laycock was already in desperation shot mode. Luckily, they were only facing one Bernath stone in the ring, so pressure wasn't too high for them to make a miracle happen, but it will be a well-earned steal of 1 for Team Daymond Bernath.
So I thought we might just catch up on some of the other games going on right now, as obviously this matters to see who the winner of this game could potentially be playing. So looks like St. John and Knapp, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, but St. John is up 1 in the third end. And then we have, it looks like a Japanese team playing Manners, and they are tied 2-2 in the third end. And then we have Team Jeong and Kleider, and the out of country team is playing up 2-1 in the third. So they're all very close games, which is always good to see.
Absolutely. Quarterfinals have a habit of being very good games. So do semifinals. You know what has a habit of not being that great is the championship final of some of these bonspiels. I've done enough of them that it just, oddly enough, they just seem to be kind of stinkers a game sometimes. Sometimes it's a blowout. Sometimes one team is just clearly not adjusting as well as the other. Sometimes the strategy is just very dry and boring. Both teams satisfied with taking single points every end. Don't know what it is, but the curse of the championship final.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think I don't know what it is, but I think even in the ones that I've played, it's either a blowout or everyone's too scared to put anything in the rings. And I think a lot of it is mental. Maybe a team going into the final not thinking that they were going to make the final and just kind of complacent and happy with, being in the final at all and not having that drive to win.
I've certainly
Whereas
felt
the other,
yes.
and the other team having that drive, like we want to win this, like we're here, so we're gonna, make the most of it. So I find sometimes that's the case, but in these quarters and semis, the teams, are pretty desperate to make the final. They want to be there, like as everyone would. So
I wonder I've always wondered what the psychological difference is when these teams, like they'll sometimes book flights on the Sunday, assuming that they're going to lose out before the semifinal. And then if they do make the semifinal, they'll call Air Canada and rush to change their flights. Or they won't book a hotel for the final day, assuming that they won't make playoffs. Okay, we have made playoffs. Now we have to book another hotel. Like, I've always wondered what the psychological impact of logistically planning your weekend to not qualify is on your drive and ability. Are you thinking about, I told my family I'd be home at this time, so now I got to call them and all this stuff? I've just never really understood that idea of preparing to lose.
There's so many psychological aspects of curling, and honestly, now that you say that, we booked our hotel so that if we make Sunday, we're gonna have to book an extra night. And I think maybe that's just coming from the fact that we're a less experienced team, and I think we go into the weekend like wanting to make it but not expecting it. And I guess it kind of depends on what works for each team, but I think just wanting to make it is enough for my team to get there. I don't know if the hotel thing is going to affect us at all. I hope not.
No. But I'm just wondering out loud here, and on the team, there's always at least one person who's really concerned with that type of thing anyway. They're the person planning this and booking that and asking everyone what you want for breakfast and I'm running to Tim's, who needs something. Like there's always someone who's on top of that anyway. So at least 3 of the people on the team don't really have to think about that much.
That's so true. Yeah, sometimes maybe it's best for that one person to not even mention it. Like, I have the hotel booked, don't worry about it. We will get there and we will get back home when we're done. So I think honestly that's kind of a great way to approach it. That was
another really gutsy call here from Team Bernath. We've seen it all game. They're looking at what the best result will be and just executing that shot. So there they get burned a little bit. Didn't quite curl up enough. There was a bit of a pocket double. I've always called it a crotch double. I'm trying to find a different way to say that. They thought that they could get the inside of those two rocks, but just over curling a little bit, ends up smashing their own rock out of the center line controlling position, and really a very negative swing at the end of that shot. That's one where you've improved the situation for your opponent by the end of your rock. So I think they'll continue to make those calls, knowing that every time they do make it, it will be a distinct advantage. But that time did not work out for them. With 5 rocks down the sheet, guards are available for removal. I thought we might see a centerline guard get either hit and rolled or ticked off there, but Steve Laycock, seeing a situation in front of him that he's liking, it's pretty favorable. He's going to choose to keep that center guard around and elect to play another rock into the rings.
Yeah, I don't think they're too stressed about that center guard right now. I mean, it could come back to bite them, but for now it's safe. And I mean, now that they just have that yellow rock they just threw, although it's going to get moved around here, but just having a tight yellow that you can run back in case you get into a little bit of trouble is always a good thing. Just with that red center guard there.
watching Jason Gunlinson and his kind of rise to curling stardom, which is, I would say at this point, complete. You got to think of Jason and Reed Carruthers as one of the strongest teams in the country at this point. Their absolute intolerance, invariable intolerance for center guards has really got me to think about how important that is to me. I watched a Briar Wildcard play-in game in Regina in 2018. It was a free game. It was that, there's only one wildcard spot, but they send 2 teams to Regina to play off for it. So Brandt Center was packed, is a nice atmosphere, and Jason Gunlinson, in front of a nice Regina crowd, blanked 7 ends in a row. It was the most boring curling game I've ever seen in my life. But he ended up winning that game 2-1 by maintaining hammer the entire time, by not permitting center guards in his house, and forcing the opponent. By the 8th end, the opponent finally said, "Oh my goodness, we're gonna have to be the ones that take some risks and make something happen here, because Jason's just gonna hit us out of this game." They did. They got forced. Jason won the game with the deuce that he finally was able to get in the very last end. So it really got me thinking. That game, well, after I was done being angry that I wasn't very entertained, I started thinking to myself, wow, those center guards really are important. So it's just little things like that you learn in these little increments. Sometimes you don't even know what you're learning while you learn it until you've already learned it. Did that make any sense?
That made complete sense, yeah. It was wordy, but it made sense. That's hilarious, the 7 blanked ends. I almost think it would be kind of entertaining just to be like, okay, are they going to blank another? Are they going to blank another? Because, that's just kind of ridiculous. But I mean, a win's a win at the end of the day. It's not the team's job to entertain the crowd. It's their job to win. So,
Absolutely.
No hate towards them for doing that. It's also definitely the other team's job to, if they want to generate points, they need to find a way to do it. So I think that it may have just been a little bit of both teams kind of not wanting to engage.
Sean Meacham's going to skate down here. Steve Laycock likes what he sees here, but knows that there's some danger around. There's multiple Bernath stones available for promotion or hit and rolls. The amount of paths to the forefoot are closing very rapidly. So even though Team Laycock is lying 2 points, they like what they are seeing here. There's really no available double for Team Bernath. They're going to try to manage this right now before something happens that might make the situation look not so good. Like we were talking about, that center guard. It's protecting a Laycock stone right now, but that is not necessarily going to be the case for the rest of the end if they're not careful.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what. The ice is probably not curling enough. Is it curling enough to get around that guard and just tap it back?
Perhaps, like for Laycock to tap their own stone back.
Or for Bernath, like if they have an opportunity at that yellow rock at any point.
They might be able to. What I'm seeing though is it's pretty high up in the rings there, and if Bernath did tap it back, all that would earn them is a spot in the top 8 foot, which is of course a good place to be, but it's not going to be enough to force or steal.
Yeah.
So yes, I think Lisa, I think they could do that, and that will be part of this discussion: is what is our opponent going to do? Not only what do we want to do, but what's our opponent going to see? Up 2 points without hammer. They're likely going to tolerate us getting two points here. How do we cook up 3 or more here?
Yeah. Another question I like asking myself is, what do we not want the opponent to do? What shot do we not want them to be able to play? So, looks like they're just throwing another rock in there.
Yeah, you could see them place their brooms on the face of their top 8 stone. I think they might be.
Yeah.
I think they might be thinking what you were thinking, Lisa, and that Daymond Bernath is going to try to tap that stone. So I think they might be looking to beat Team Bernath to that spot that they know is going to be the next controlling area of this end.
Yeah, and like Laycock is definitely going hard for a deuce here, so they're not going to be happy with just just 1 point. This is looking a little bit heavy.
I think they're going for plan B here, trying to sweep it clean by. They don't want to leave an opportunity for their opponent, and they're going to get pretty lucky there, the way that ticked off. As you can see, the outturn path will be curling just a little too much to get a nose hit on that back yellow stone. The only way they're going to be able to remove that and keep their rock in the rings is to throw quite a bit of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like that's what they're lining up. So the shot here is to throw up weight, which of course will keep the rock straight, and try to get as close to nose as you can so you're not rolling too far out of the rings to the left. It's a very challenging scenario.
Oh yeah, this is a very tough shot. With that much weight, it's hard to keep a rock where you want it. So he's going to have to be very precise with the line here, and it definitely makes the line calling difficult for the third to make this perfectly, because with that much weight, it's just hard to call hit and rolls.
Absolutely. It's the hardest skill to judge as a fan is the line calling ability of a skip and third. Really, even as a curler, until you play with someone, you don't really know how developed that skill is for them.
Yeah,
in fact, I would say most disagreements on a team, besides of course sweepers being a little bit offset in what they think the weight is between the backhand players of should we or shouldn't we have swept that rock. What could have we done to manage that stone down the line better? And it's just tough. It's tough to gauge that skill, but one that I really noticed is Kleider's team, Joshua Mattern and Rylan Kleider, just elite level, observers of rocks.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So that one
rolled a little too far.
And so just as we were talking about it,
third?
Sitting third shot, but won't be good enough this late in the end to really make an impact on the scoring area for Steve Laycock. Just as we were talking about it, it appeared that they were off that stone for a good portion there, just trying to figure out exactly how they could manage that stone to make it perfect, and just so close, but 1 inch too far.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the third to be able to take accountability, and the skip as well, both to be taking accountability when they miscall a rock, because I think that just makes it a lot easier on the sweepers and the thrower to know that there's nothing they did wrong and there's nothing that they need to change. It's just a matter of line calling, and line calling is hard. It's really difficult. I would say I played front end for basically my entire curling career, and in my opinion, line calling is more difficult than weight calling. Maybe that's just because I was more used to weight calling, but it's
so funny to hear you say that, because me growing up playing backhand, I'd say judging weight is more difficult, so that's funny.
Okay, yeah, it's probably just a, me being used to it, but I would say once the third just, looks at their front end players and says, sorry guys, like I just miscalled the line on that, it just takes so much pressure off the rest of the team, and there's no shame in admitting that you miscalled the line, because it's hard, it's really difficult, and it's a skill that I think definitely would come over time, and it's tough. I'm learning that very quickly as I'm skipping this year. It's a tough skill.
That's a great point. No, it's a super important designation to make to your team. And if you're ever going to learn from what happened there and make the next shot down that spot, you need to be sharing that information with your team, not just for like teamwork and confidence purposes, which you described very well, and yes, is very important. But if you want to make the next shot down that path, you guys need to be sharing every bit of observational information that you gather.
Absolutely. I think there's nothing more important than accountability in curling. So it looks like they're having a little bit of issue deciding on what to call here. It's kind of a weird situation.
It is. These are the toughest situations to be in, I find, as a skip. We get really practiced at managing kind of tie game scenarios, common looks, the things that we see over and over again, like a frozen stone in the top 4 foot with a single guard protecting it, or maybe a setup in the wing where both teams have been making taps or freezes over and over again. These scenarios where it's like a non-traditional way to score, with hammer down points, this many rocks kind of in the top of the rings is not very common. Both in-turn and out-turn paths to the button, both draw paths being taken away, not super common either. And Steve Laycock is lying 2 stones right now. He clearly has the advantage in this end. So it's a little more difficult because you just don't really see these situations as often. So they'll have to really take a look here. At first they had an out-turn play into the center of the rings lined up. Steve skated down, and now they've decided to play an in-turn hit and roll, tap and roll type shot to get into that 4 foot area.
That's kind of what I was looking at too instantly, was just nicking off one of those reds there. Even if you nick off the top one, that's probably a pretty good result. So
this has got a lot of weight. It's got to curl quite a bit as well. Little tick.
It seemed like a little too much weight there.
Mm-hmm. I think if they would have, even if they would have got the tick, they would have had to collide with something in order to slow that rock down.
Yeah, and potentially could have been that back red, back 8 there, but I think you would have definitely needed to hit it a lot thicker. It's those shots are really tough. I'm realizing very quickly is the back line hack calls. I find it so easy to overthrow those. And because of how important the line is on those shots, any increase in weight that wasn't called is going to negatively affect your outcome. So you got to be super careful that you're getting the weight exactly what you called in order to make those shots.
Big moment for Team Bernath here. They've been playing very well all game. They'd hate to squander their advantage on one bad end. So really taking their time, understanding the weight of this situation. Team Bernath seeing something.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the call here?
Well, it looks like they're going to make a play. They're going to promote their own redstone in the 12 foot here. Now, whether they're going to play it to the back yellow to kind of get a frozen type scenario to force Team Laycock to 1 or 2, or whether they're trying to play this run back kind of thin double type shot to remove both yellows. I'm not so sure. This definitely looks like at least like a soft hit weight to promote the red stone.
Yeah, I think it seems like a little bit of a run kind of flop situation. They want to flop their red under cover as much as possible. I'm assuming their shooter will stay kind of in that area. I don't think they're throwing a heater here. So,
well, with Steve Laycock's last shot in the previous end, that in-off off the boards, a couple of the shots we've seen this end, this has definitely been a non-typical game so far. Some very, not very common throws.
Yeah, it's been weird. It's been weird for sure.
Got 1, got 2, but they were not able to curl enough to stick that stone in the rings like they were intending. It's going to open up the rings for Steve Laycock to draw for 3 points. And once again, we see this live by the sword, die by the sword mentality with Team Bernath. Looking at the situation, understanding what the very best result would be, and fearlessly putting the broom down and throwing the shot. They've had 2 misses so far with that mentality, and it looks like they will get burned this time, but look for Team Bernath to not back down on that tactical decision-making.
Yeah, I like it, and I like how confident the whole team is in what the skip is calling. It's good. It's a very united team.
I'm feeling that as well, yes.
So just a draw to the... Are we going back, or are we going on top of their yellow?
I think they've got enough scoring area they can do any one of those things and still get their 3 points. The big disadvantage to Bernath's shot is they've made this considerably easier. If Daymond doesn't throw his last rock, Steve actually has a tougher time getting into the rings for 3. But now that there's no obstacle on this in-turn path.
I think you need a little bit of a flop here, yeah.
You were correct, Lisa. They did, for sure. If they would have got any more no's than that, I think it would have remained 4th shot. They wouldn't have got their 3 points. But the flop they do get, 3 points for Steve Laycock. Will take the lead in this quarterfinal matchup. 4-3, Laycock. 5th end when we come back.
We just got our shipment of logos here in for our next event, which is going to be the mixed doubles. As you can see, there's a few of them. There's roughly 20 logos per sheet to be put in for the mixed doubles, along with a couple of extra little dots. But all our logos come from Jet Ice. They are the best logos to put in. We use them around the world, and they're very easy to install. As you can tell, this is the center ice logo that's going to be going in for the world. This is about a 4-footer by 10. It's going to look like $1 million. Their colors on their logos are always nice and vibrant. And like I said before, very easy to put in.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
You know, what job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
Welcome back to Swift Current. 2 really interesting ends in a row there. The 3rd and 4th. Team Bernath really playing an all-out kind of tactical mindset here. Going for the top result.
This is a high-scoring game, and not surprising after the 3rd end, I believe. Just seeing how many rocks were in play, I don't think either team is afraid to make this an interesting game, which is good. It's exciting.
Just want to quickly shout out the Team Laycock Facebook page as well as the Team Bernath Facebook page. I think we got family and friend watch parties tuning in on both of those pages, so welcome. I'm very happy that we can give you high definition access to your friends and family members on the ice here competing in this quarterfinal matchup. Also want to say hi to CBC Gem. You have made the right choice, CBC Gem viewers. I know there's some excellent Canadian sitcoms and Canadian programming on CBC Gem, but you got live curling this morning, so you've made the right choice tuning in with us.
No, what else could you be watching on a Monday Thanksgiving morning?
You could be binge watching Schitt's Creek.
No, yeah, we don't need to spend time with the family. We've got curling.
Wrong overhead here. Let's see if I can fix that on the fly.
Yeah, and shout out to Rory for also doing the producing on this game. It's definitely a lot when you are commentating and also producing at the same time. It's a lot for your brain to process. So shout out to him for doing a great job.
Well, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
But as you know, it's pretty fun as well. It's
super fun. Super fun.
Yeah. There we go. Got the right overhead. And if I'm taking any of that credit, I got to shout out Mr. James Gordon as well, on site in Swift Current, spending all his time between draws, optimizing all of this audio-video technology. If we ever have a problem during a broadcast, James is right on it as soon as the broadcast is done, and always comes up with some sort of solution. or at least diagnoses the problem. Our tech wizard, James Gordon, Mr. Jet Ice himself.
Yeah, James is awesome. When we were in Vernon last weekend, or I guess, yeah, last weekend, I met him there at the event, and he was there. Seemed like at least 12 hours a day or more. So it's impressive that he can, you know, keep all this going. He's like a one-man band out there, kind of. I mean, there's obviously some support here as well, and from Jerry, but no, I was very impressed with all that he was doing in Vernon. So
Yeah, James and I have worked a couple events on site together. It is still best to be on site, but just to keep this technology free and available for everyone, we do have to limit our costs as well. The technology, the ability to do it from home is excellent. Having a man on the ground, for sure, or a person on the ground, helps a lot.
yeah, and make sure that if you're watching, you give us a like, give us a follow, and share, and that will help us to keep doing this type of stuff. And it means a lot if you are able to share it with friends and family, and you know, get as many viewers as we can and support these teams as well.
And if we need any community competition, if you've tuned in for any of the Korean or Japanese streams, you will see how many comments and how active your fans are on those streams. And hey, Canadian curling fans, we know we love curling, but we got to show it. You got to show it online. You got to give a like and a subscribe to the Curling Zone YouTube page. Let CBC Gem know that you value live curling being on their platform. That's all they need to hear to keep providing this. And just your voice does matter. And that's something that, you know, people sometimes forget. It's easy to get lost in this big world where you think so much is happening. Oh, I'm just one person. No one really cares what I think. No, some of these comments showing the appreciation people have for seeing this live curling and being able to follow their loved ones on the ice. Guys, that inspires us, and it lets us know that there is a really passionate audience out there for this type of thing. We get to show those comments to sponsors, to potential event hosts, to potential curling clubs that are thinking of putting this in themselves. So yeah, let us know.
Absolutely. And I was talking about this not too long ago, just the fact that having these videos, having these live streams absolutely helps get more sponsors for these teams and for the events as well, because you know, sponsors love to see their name in the ice, their name on the back of jackets, and it helps the curlers to keep doing what they're doing. So there's just an abundance of benefits to doing this live streaming. And as well, yeah, we love seeing comments. So if you guys, you know, have any strategic suggestions or ideas, make sure you leave them in the comment section and we can talk about them.
Totally agree. I had a very, very entertaining game between Sherry Anderson and Haruka Sasaki yesterday. Some really interesting calls and angles and like decisions, and we were having so much fun in the chat breaking down each shot and what people thought was and wasn't possible. And sometimes we got surprised by the way the rocks kind of moved off each other and the angles, and like it was a learning experience for everyone and just a really thrilling, entertaining way to learn more about that side of how the game goes. And yeah, it's just really fun kind of community online there for that game. Run back number 2 for Daymond Bernath. Ooh. Earlier in the end, the second for Team Bernath, David Baum, made a really nice run back, split off there, and now Braden Tessier tries the same, gets one yellow stone, but is not able to double them off. Definitely
This is
the simplest end we've had so far.
I was just gonna say that this is most unlike any other end that we've seen. Maybe they were getting tired of the amount of rocks in play. I don't know, but this is very, very simple. I guess it could have to do with, you know, the score being closer now and Bernath being down 1 with hammer. It's basically like a tied game. So yeah, they're just simplifying things here in the 5th end.
Just may have been that the leads made some shots perfectly, and there's a decision made to kind of adjust the guards, things just not kind of going back and forth. Team Laycock making all their replacement shots, meaning their lead would have thrown a center guard and a come around, and for the rest of the end, they've been replacing those two stones, replacing the center guard, replacing the rocks and the rings. So now that Bernath has left a stone up front, Steve Laycock attempts to draw another stone into the top 8 foot, comes up light.
I wonder if we're seeing any ice changing here in the 5th end, because I find it kind of strange that they would come up that short after, they've had some decent weight the whole game. I don't know what you've seen in the past games you've been commentating, but I don't know if the ice is changing at all in the 5th or like the later ends.
No, that's very fair. That might be the reason. Something I was thinking of as well, Lisa, was Steve has been throwing some very difficult hit shots for most of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe it could be a case where Steve just didn't have his draw weight, and I'm actually struggling to remember. Besides, well, actually, now that I think about it, he did just make a draw for 3 in the previous end.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the opposite side of the ice, but unless you're really seeing a significant change back and forth, yeah, that was a slightly confusing miss, for sure. Something we're not used to seeing from a thrower of Steve Laycock's caliber.
And I just wanted to also shout out Jason Bratton, the head ice tech out there. Like we've been saying all game, the ice looks amazing, and I'm super excited to play on it next weekend. Just the amount of curl and the consistency looks great. So huge shout out to everyone working on the ice out there. We're always grateful for the ice techs.
Yeah, Jason's already stellar reputation growing even more. Swift Current is becoming known as one of the most premier facilities in Saskatchewan, which is a great thing. Where Swift Current is a good distance towards Calgary over there. Get some Alberta curlers out here a little more often. If that reputation spreads, we already have quite a few quality teams coming to these tournaments at Swift, and it only adds to the prestige when you know that there's a very talented ice maker on staff there. So.
Yeah, it's always great to... Sorry,
Jason's also got some hilarious stories about my mom's team in the 90s and 2000s. Sometimes the best stories about your parents aren't going to come from your parents. You need to hear them from someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah, my parents used to curl as well, and they have some interesting curling stories. I think curling was a lot different back then, and they have a lot of, they did the 24-hour spiel before a couple times. They did some outdoor spiels that seemed to be like a lot of fun. So I always love hearing about those stories.
Outdoor curling.
Yeah.
Jason also told me the somewhat secret ingredients to Ice Maker's Punch, which I didn't know. I don't know the exact recipe, but I'll tell you it involves ice cream, coffee, rum, and Coke.
Oh, interesting.
I
don't know how I feel about that.
Steve Laycock maintaining control of the 4th foot. This has been a steal or force looking end from the very beginning.
Yeah, they have it set up pretty well in their favor, although I think this is a pretty essential shot. You could make this and be sitting in a lot better water, so...
Well, with my wider view, I can let you know. I distracted you with the Ice Maker's Punch story. This is the last rock.
Oh, never mind. Thank you. So I think you have to kind of flop in there a little bit to get shot. I'm not sure. It looks like he's throwing down weight here. Probably hack, maybe, most likely hack, I would say.
They'd love to throw just like a back house weight, but they'd love to throw just like a back 4, back 8 weight here, but I think, like you said, you need to have some action on your stone, give it some momentum to roll over in order to get your shot. So I think you might have to throw full hack weight here.
Yeah, especially coming across the face like this. It's a little bit more difficult to get action going.
Looking for our overhead, we will see. We're just not able to get the inside roll on that stone. Team Laycock, a really solid end. Kept it simple. Guard replace, draw replace, and it earns them a steal of 1 here in the 5th end. Team Bernath will have the hammer in the 6th.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
You know, what job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
Welcome back, curling fans. Very interesting game here. Steve Laycock, Daymond Bernath. Both teams understanding that they are in the money. These are the high importance, these are the games. Every win earns you a little bit more, so both teams are showing their commitment to that by playing pretty aggressive tactical decisions here, especially Team Bernath, really laying it all on the line for the perfect result on quite a few occasions here. Got burned a little bit with that tactical mindset in the 4th end, giving up 3 points to Steve Laycock. Previous end, 5th end, was the most open, straightforward end we've had, with a center guard and rocking the top of the 4-foot nearly the whole end. Team Bernath making some nice runbacks to nearly clear the danger out, but never quite getting the perfect result. A flashed hit from Team Bernath gave Laycock the opportunity to really solidify the 4-foot control, forcing Daymond into a very tough shot in the 5th end for a single point. Isn't able to get the tough roll, gives up a steal. Now Team Bernath will be down 2 points with hammer in the 6th end, looking to score 2 or more to wrestle control back of this back and forth game. Corner guard thrown by Team Bernath. They would attempt to hit and roll there. Weren't quite able to hold the curl and get the roll they were looking for. So that is how the free guard zone will fizzle out. Team Laycock will address this stone in the rings. There will be 1 corner guard that Team Bernath will attempt to draw play towards. Oh, Chris Heichert, so quick out of the hack. I can barely rack my camera to catch him.
So it looks like they're rolling into the guard here. Oh, just nicks the back one. Not a bad shot at all.
And you know what confused me about that, Lisa, is the sweep call. They weren't really specifically trying to avoid that. Like, I think they got caught a little in between. Braden Stewart was working pretty hard to hold that straight, but ended up just catching their own stone in an awkward way. They would have loved to keep that one around in the 4-foot. That way,
yeah.
If Team Bernath was able to get a rock behind their corner guard there, at least Steve Laycock would have a stone that Bernath would then have to address at some point in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once Team Bernath gets their stone around a corner guard there and the side of the rings, there's no dangerous Laycock stone to contend with. They can focus fully their attention on solidifying that corner guard setup. Yeah, so, draw number 1. Coming around here, it's important to make this or else a peel will be coming down the ice. And they will tick their own corner guard.
It almost rolled to a decent spot. Not quite.
Yeah, lucky enough that they're now occupying a valuable spot in the rings. Valuable enough that Laycock will address this stone rather than peeling the corner guard. Yep, Hackert out of the hack within 2 seconds of the broom being down. going to save them some time at timed games.
I'm looking at the scoreboard and it's confusing me for some reason. Is it the board is the end or the cards are the end?
Looks like
I don't know why it's confusing me. Okay.
yeah, the board's at the end.
Yeah, okay.
They've got
Oh, I
baseball
see. It's added up. I see. Okay.
yeah, bit of a hybrid scoreboard there. Rory McCusker here out of Regina, Saskatchewan for Curling Stadium Live. Lisa Parent out of Calgary, Alberta. Joining you, our curling audience here in Swift Current, Saskatchewan.
Where are you from, Rory? I don't know if I asked that.
I am born and raised Regina, Saskatchewan. I lived in Toronto for a little while.
Okay.
I used to travel quite extensively with Jerry to many of these World Curling Tour stops in Ontario and in the West here, traveling to do social media coverage for teams, online coverage for Curling Zone. But Regina has been home for the vast majority of my life. My mother,
So
Joan
are you,
McCusker, traveling a lot for curling, played on the Sandra Schmerler Olympic team. So my childhood was spent at curling clubs around the country and the world.
So are you a big Rough Riders fan then, being in Regina?
I am, Lisa, but it's very difficult to talk about right now.
I haven't been keeping up with it, but my family.
Well, the Riders have lost 8 of their last 10 games, so
Oh my.
pessimism is abound. Heads are being called for in the province of Saskatchewan.
So sensitive area then, maybe.
Yeah. You know what? We all love just traveling to Alberta to go to NHL games anyway. That's the main sporting event for Saskatchewan folk. Calgary, Alberta, and Edmonton, Alberta have stolen many of our finest young minds. So everyone in Saskatchewan has at least a friend or a family member in Alberta, and we that's our kind of soft vacation, is driving the number 1 6 hours over to Calgary and getting the sports game in, doing some shopping, hightailing it back home, maybe stopping in Swift Current for a burger or sandwich. That's the Saskatchewan travel dream right there.
That's funny because it's the opposite for us because there's so many Rough Rider fans here, and even when the Riders come to play in Calgary, I mean, a quarter of the stadium is Rough Rider fans. So
yep, looks like Christmas lights.
Yeah, it totally does.
Yep, McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Alberta is the 4th biggest city in Saskatchewan on Rider away games.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. It's a gross stadium though. It's old. It's so old.
Yeah, there is some. I've heard that criticism.
Oh yeah, we definitely need some updates here.
It's not very hard to become the 4th biggest city in Saskatchewan. You need about 25,000 people in one place, and that works.
Gotta love Saskatchewan.
Well, we do love our curling, that's for sure. And with the curling stadium technology in both Martinsville and Swift Current, hopefully soon to be a few more locations, Saskatchewan curling fans will be able to follow their favorite teams around the province and more. So
what are do you know any of the other big events in Saskatchewan besides Martinsville, obviously, and Swift Current? What are the other go-to places?
Well, there's some World Curling Tour events. The Nutana has one every year in Saskatoon. Saskatoon, I think, I would consider at this point the kind of curling capital in the province. They have the most competitive teams, it seems, right now, and between the Sutherland, Nutana, and Martinsville now hosting their events, that's probably the busiest area as far as big events are concerned. The Regina Highland has an event coming up. I'm not exactly sure when, but Regina Highland's got 6 sheets of very high quality curling ice. But other than that, North Battleford has a fine rink, and this is a Jerry question, to be honest. not too familiar, there is the Sask Curling Tour, which has been gaining quality over the years. Every year it gets a little bit better. But a lot of these teams, a lot of the top teams would be traveling quite a bit outside of province to get their World Tour points.
Yeah, luckily, the provinces aren't too far apart. It's a quick swing over to Alberta or Manitoba, where the curling teams are all very competitive, and there's great opportunities to play new teams, which is one of my favorite things about not playing in your own province.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's been a while for me. I played competitive in juniors, never winning the province or even really making a final, but holding our own in junior competitive. Then played some university playdowns. That's probably the most fun I've ever had curling, was playing against Brendan Botcher and Braden Muscowie and some of those big names. We would represent the U of R at Western Canadian Showdowns, played with Catlin Schneider at the only national competition we qualified for. I think we went 4-6 or 4-7, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of university curling. In Calgary, actually, this year, we have our first U of C curling team getting put together. Although I believe they had one a little while back, and then it kind of fizzled out, and now they are, redoing the program again, and it'll be exciting to see that, because Calgary has really, really been lacking on the university curling team stage. The school I go to is, we don't have a curling team, and they won't let us, which is really unfortunate. But it's awesome to see that U of C, such a big school, is doing that this year.
Shocking. U of C wouldn't have an established curling program.
Oh, shocking, completely. Yeah, especially with the way that U of A has done their program. You would think, that they would want to put that competition out there, but it's just, it hasn't been in the picture until this year. And Heather Rogers and Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant are doing that this year. So it'll be some great coaching, which will be awesome. And hopefully they keep that going for quite a few years to come.
Well, Steve Laycock able to sneak a really good angle there in this corner guard setup. Bernath still pretty comfortable, thinking they can find a way to manufacture 2 or more here. They'll need a nice tap back here on Daymond's first stone.
I'm looking at the comment section of the game on YouTube, and Sue was just saying that she loves the games with commentary. If there is any way to know which games would have commentary, that would be great. And then we just responded saying that we're working on that. So hopefully there'll be more of like a searchable schedule to be able to see which games are going to be commentated, because I completely agree that commentated games are just more engaging to listen to, and it's fun to kind of be able to disagree with the commentators' choices of
Lisa,
strategy.
We are correct all the time. Don't even
Oh.
let that happen in your head. No,
And the
so what I
great
would
thing
say
about
to
it-
Sue, what I would say to
great thing
Sue
about
there,
it-
and hello Sue,
Oh.
yep, good curling fan, the Gleason, that last name, and what I would say is triple knockout format, no such luck. We will not be able to know until those games take shape, really. But
Yeah.
as far as the pool play and like other tournaments, yeah, that would be good to plan, to know which games are going to be which.
Yeah, or just having a way to notify people, once we
Yeah.
find out who's playing in what draw, just on social media or Facebook or wherever.
That's an end-saving shot from Steve Laycock. Daymond Bernath was able to make the tap back nearly perfectly, was able to roll almost to the point where there was no double available, but unfortunately just that inch that he was able to show Steve Laycock was enough for Steve to make good on that double takeout, eliminating the multi-score possibility for Team Bernath. That really takes the air out of your tires there when you've been working so hard all end to jockey for positioning, draw play to the outside. establish your 2-point setup on the outside. And you can see Daymond kind of skating down. A little disappointed that they weren't able to make it work, but that's what happens when a team is just not missing, which Steve Laycock, their team right now, finding a nice stride here in the 6th end. Team Bernath, with most of the pressure early in this game, able to force in the 1st end, score a deuce in the 2nd, and then steal in the 3rd. It was looking like Team Bernath was really the one taking the initiative here. But in the 4th end, some risky tactical decision-making by Team Bernath, which had, of course, led them to their established lead, allows Steve Laycock to draw for 3, turn this game around. Since then, it has been Team Steve Laycock dictating the pace of this game.
Yeah, they did an amazing job of, initiating some more rocks in play in order to get that little bit of a comeback, and a beautiful draw here right to the tee line to score Bernath their single point going into the 7th end.
We just got our shipment of logos here in for our next event, which is going to be the mixed double. As you can see, there's a few of them. There's roughly 20 logos per sheet to be put in for the mixed doubles, along with a couple extra little dots. But all our logos come from Jet Ice. They are the best logos to put in. We use them around the world, and they're very easy to install. As you can tell, this is the center ice logo that's going to be going in for the world. This is about a 4-footer by 10. It's going to look like $1 million. Their colors on their logos are always nice and vibrant. And like I said before, very easy to put in.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Welcome back, 7th end. Got Rory McCusker, Lisa Parent here with you, watching this Daymond Bernath, Steve Laycock quarterfinal battle. As you can see, the scoreboard behind you there, not the most predictable game. Some steals, some big scores of 3. Both teams kind of going back and forth in the way that they're taking control of this game. Team Bernath, really good start. Steve Laycock's team really starting to turn it on in the 4th end. Since then, Steve Laycock has been able to force or steal a point and force Team Bernath. So both hammer and the lead belonging to Steve Laycock here in the 7th end.
And all the other games are either in their 7th end right now or going into it. So we'll give you a quick recap of some of the other games and what's happening over there. So on this sheet over, we've got Kelly Knapp and Jesse St. John, and Knapp is up 3-2. It's only showing the 6th end, but I'm assuming we probably just haven't inputted the score there yet. Sheet over from there, we've got Kleider from Saskatoon and Jeong from Seoul, Korea. They are tied at 4-4 in the 7th end. And going over one more, we have Scott Manners and the Japanese team. Japan is up 5-4 on Manners, and they are also in the 7th end. So all the games are starting to wrap up a little bit here, but they're all very close games. So it'll be exciting to see what plays out here in the next half an hour or so.
Definitely. And hey, not that we want you to leave us, but if you ever wanted to pop in and check out what is happening in those games live, well, guess what? Curling Zone YouTube page is going to allow you to do that. All you have to do is click the Curling Zone logo below the screen. If you're on a smart TV, you click your options button, or up or down, left or right on your directional pad. That's going to allow you to click the channel that you're watching the game on. For those of you that like to get links, don't want to fandangle your own kind of electronic equipment, it's pretty easy. All you do is click that Curling Zone channel page and you'll see all of the games in front of you. On a PC or tablet, you can have multiple games going at once. Just click and drag your browser to the right or left-hand side of your screen. Let it snap into the right or left-hand side, and then boom, you've got half your screen open to watch a different game. So
that's for the real OG fans out there.
Exactly. I love live streaming curling because it has forced my grandmother to learn how to use the internet. There was no motivation before this moment. Nothing could convince her to do it.
Goodness.
But now that there's live curling on TV, okay, I'll learn how to do it.
Now that you say that brings up something that happened to me the other day. I work at the Calgary Curling Club, just in the main front office there, and I got this phone call, and it was this old lady on the phone, and she sounded very old, and she was asking me, I just need to know what channel the curling is on. She was talking about the what's it called, the big event right now.
Oh, the Bruce National on Sportsnet.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, I don't know what channel it's on. And I was like, oh, of course, you gotta call your local curling club and find out what channel the curling's on. I thought it was really cute. But I got about like 4 phone calls from this lady trying to help her work out where the curling was on. And it turned out it wasn't on at all because the baseball was on. So I felt horrible because I was trying to help this lady find where the curling was, and she was typing the channel number into the phone. I could hear like the buttons going. It was funny, but she was so sweet, and I loved getting that call. It made my day.
Yeah, that's great. That's adorable. It is a little confusing, and you know what? For anyone who's legitimately asking themselves, yeah, why wasn't the curling on? It was still on. There was still a broadcast. It's just Sportsnet West would have made the decision that the baseball was more popular of a game, so they would put that game online. So with your TV account, you can sign in to Sportsnet Now or TSN Go, whichever network it's on, and they actually will have the curling broadcast available on like an online stream. It just isn't on your cable box, unfortunately. But no, if the woman that was calling you was punching the channel codes into her phone, I don't know if she would have been able to figure out the Sportsnet Now fan.
Not quite. She was in an old folks home, and I was like, well, I might just call the old folks home and say, get this lady some curling because she wants to see the curling. I felt bad for her that we couldn't make it happen, but yeah.
She knows what she wants. She knows knows the curling's on and she wants to see it. So
you wouldn't believe the amount of calls we get just asking what channel the curling's on or why isn't the curling on. It's funny.
Yep, I've got a long future to look forward to there when the virtual reality curling isn't working on my whatever futuristic multimedia device that I have. How cool would that be? Virtual reality curling where the players wear sensors and you slide out with the players looking down the broom. You get to throw the rock with the players. You know, the technology exists right now for us to make that happen. Lisa, do you want in on my business idea?
I am down. Don't tell everybody though, because this idea could get taken. But no, that would be an amazing thing. I would be very content sitting in my old folks' home, 40 years from now, if I got to watch virtual reality curling and I could just be on Kevin Cooey's head. I mean, maybe not Cooey at that 40 years, but whoever's in right at that moment. I think that'd be really cool, being able to slide out with the team or call the shots.
Seventh end here, Team Daymond Bernath must must be pretty satisfied with what they've been able to create so far here. They've got a center guard, although it's high and a little off the center line. They are shooting right now, so they'll have the opportunity to really solidify this kind of what looks to be a perfect steel rock at the top of the button there.
I'm just amazed by how perfect the Bernath team slides are. You can just tell they were taught really well at a young age just because of how technically sound their slides are, all of them. And it's awesome to be able to see with this broadcasting equipment, rather than just seeing the house, you're able to see what their slide looks like, what they do with their release. And it's awesome for the teams as well to be able to go back and kind of watch and see, what did I do on this shot? Because it's just a great view.
I'm really glad that you noticed that. And as I got involved with the Curling Stadium Live, James, his background, it's actually, he's got a lot of experience with technology. Jerry's built many websites, managed many back ends of that kind of digital technology. My contribution was that I had been taught, the way that you set up a visually consistent and appealing broadcast, and that's something I pushed for right away was, hey, let's rack these cameras right in on the hack as they slide, because there's so much little detail that you get from a nice quality camera zoomed in on the slide that even watching a curling game live, you don't get to see those little details you just described.
Yeah, people
with
love
this
seeing
technology,
that,
we're able
for sure.
to really just get into the mechanics of their slides, and what's really entertaining to me is how different everybody is. There's almost no two slides that are the exact same. Some are very similar, and I actually find in the women's game there's a lot more kind of technical consistency. These guys seem to have their own little flair, a lot of which you would never teach a young curler how to. You would never say, yes, you should slide with your back leg, your trailing leg sticking out like a rudder, but sometimes you see very skilled curlers with these what would normally seem like terrible technical deliveries. As you pointed out, that's a very just straight, balanced, up and down, front to back delivery from Daymond Bernath there.
Absolutely, and the third as well. Like their slides are almost identical, and that's super important. And that's something my team has been working on a lot. Is just how do we, especially the third and skip, how do we make our slides as close to the same as we can, and more importantly, our release as well, because it just makes the skip's life a million times easier if there's consistency. If the lead and second have their own thing going on, I find that's not as big of a deal. But when it gets to the back end, you kind of want that consistency, and in order to make those super, technical shots.
No, it's a good observation. I think I agree. Damon's guard here is coming a little deep. It's going to tempt the Laycock team into a angle run back. I'm very interested to understand why they're taking the out turn here, the inside out turn.
Are they, or are they just thinking it's going to fall? Yeah, I think
it might be negative ice for Steve.
It is, yeah. Oh, he's throwing a ton of weight. I think he just had the lift going on there, so.
Very interesting. Yep, that's just kind of where Steve wanted the broom, I guess.
Interesting.
Just miss inside.
No, I'm surprised they took that ice, because I haven't seen negative ice be taken all game. And I don't know, I guess he was thinking, I missed this tight, I peel the guard, that's fine. He never wanted to run it back into their own yellow there, so that's probably one of the considerations they took into calling that shot the way they did.
That's a good guess. It's probably a combination of those factors. At the end of the day, Steve Laycock, the wily veteran, just understands his own throw, understands his own tendencies, and when a skip of that caliber and that much experience puts the broom down as a third, no questions asked. You just match it and let him do his thing.
Absolutely. The more third questions of the shot and the ice, sometimes you can kind of get into the skip's head. So, if they are confident in calling that shot the way they did, then, it's best to just let them do their thing sometimes. And if you need to talk about it after the game, then you do.
Decision time for Bernath here. Would you ever come top 8 foot, lie two points, thinking that Steve's shot is not going to change very much, so you may as well lie 2 instead of 1? Or do you just reset this guard, understand you have a very good chance of stealing the end if you do, and be satisfied with that?
Yeah, honestly, I don't hate doing a little bit of a Christmas tree action in there, so that it kind of puts the pressure on Laycock to make some type of shot. You know, if you Christmas tree that perfectly and you just tuck half of that rock that they just threw, then you really put the pressure on Laycock, and any shot they play is most likely going to be a hit and roll out to, keep the steal to 1. But I mean, it is a tougher shot to make. You have to make it perfectly, but I agree. I think going top 8 wouldn't hurt.
I guess the thinking would be Laycock's shot likely won't change much unless, of course, what you said, they choose to just take one of them off and give up a steal of 1. Steve Laycock has always been very conscientious of the way that Hammer will trade back and forth throughout a game. His whole career, he's been very defensive of Hammer, doesn't want to be scoring in the odd ends at the back half of the game. So what I'm saying here is I'm thinking Steve Laycock is fairly comfortable in a situation where they give up 1 point here. It will give them Hammer in the final end. Tie game scenario, and as the analytics will show you, it's a very high percentage chance of winning that game, over 80%, 85% for the men's game. So giving up a steal here, not the end of the world. Still slightly better odds if you score your point here, so they will prefer to do that if they can. But as long as they're only giving up 1, it's still a very comfortable 8th end scenario for Team Steve Laycock.
I wonder how those analytics would change with the no tick on the center line guards rule. Be interesting to see.
We are definitely going to see what that brings, and I'm pretty excited for that.
Steal of 1?
Yeah, very tough shot for Steve Laycock there, although it looks like that rock would have curled enough to catch a piece of the button. They aren't able to get the weight there. It's a steal of 1 for Team Daymond Bernath. Going into the 8th end, Steve Laycock will have Hammer to decide who moves on to the semifinal in this S3 Group Curling Stadium Series in Swift Current.
Had some questions about if our houses are painted or are they logo. Our events are always painted houses, but in the future coming out, I'm pretty sure we're going to be going to all logo houses. They're a great revenue source for any curling club. You can get your advertisements on there, and usually after the first year, the houses are paid for. It's all free money for you. So hopefully check Jet Ice out for your future in-house logo.
Welcome back, everyone. 8th end here. Tie game, Steve Laycock with the hammer. It's been an interesting one. Team Daymond Bernath getting a forced 1 in the first end, a deuce in the second, and a steal in the third. It was looking like Daymond Bernath was really on the ball and was gonna control the game, but a big 4th end swing with many rocks in play, lots of overlapped guards, and Team Steve Laycock able to manage that tricky situation quite well. They get a big score of 3 to take the lead. In the 5th end, Steve Laycock managed to steal and were able to force Team Bernath in the 6th. So just like that, Steve Laycock took back control of the game. 7th end, Bernath was able to get a nice center guard, 4-foot setup. Were able to steal point to tie the game. That leaves us here in the 8th end with a nasty, probably a tick attempt there, Lisa?
Yeah, I think that was a tick attempt that just kind of got lost on them.
Yeah, Braden Stewart very upset with how that rock ended up going down the ice. I think they figured they made a bit of a sweeping error as well. Maybe could have saved that one.
Yeah, they kind of at the end seemed like they were trying to carve it over a little bit because I think they lost it. I don't know if they didn't jump it early enough or what happened there, but Bernath I don't think is upset about where. I mean, their rock's only slightly biting, but now they have 2 guards and 1 rock that's biting, so it's not a bad outcome for Bernath.
Another very interesting placement here. You got to think that was a bit of a miss. Daymond Bernath deciding he wants 2 center guards, so he made the call for a high guard. That high guard ended up slipping pretty deep into the guard zone. It's now frozen on the failed tick attempt of Steve Laycock. So 2 misses in a row from both teams there.
Yeah, and Laycock looking a little bit like confused about this shot, which I would be too. It's kind of a weird situation. I don't know if I've ever seen this in one of my games. Frozen to the opposition rock on the center line. Yeah, I don't know exactly what I would do here, but it seems like he's trying to just tick the red over a little bit and potentially kick their rock into the house.
I think this is a straight removal. Keep in mind, Steve Laycock can remove their own guard from the guard zone. They cannot remove the red one, but they can remove their own yellow. So they will go clap, clap.
Yeah, that was a nice
Somewhat
shot.
of a hybrid modified tick type situation. I don't really know what to call that one, Lisa.
It was cool though. I liked it. It was a good call.
Cool. Got a board weight, control weight. I'd call that more kind of board. They are able to get the Bernath guard out of the line of action. Daymond Bernath will have to replace this rock.
It was almost an easier tick situation for Laycock just because you could hit that rock pretty hard and not lose the opposition rock. So it was kind of a give and tick in a way. It was hard to miss that.
So we were talking earlier in the game about the importance of lead stones and just how much the development of the game has really made lead you can't slouch at this position. Gone are the days where you and a third could just rope in 2 of your buddies to curl and you could survive like that just having a front end, only making half their shots. No, especially in the competitive world where these tie game scenarios come down to the 8th end, the management of the free guard zone is absolutely critical.
Yeah, and it'll become even more critical once that center line rule comes into play. I think like we were talking about this earlier, so some of this is repeated stuff, but just engaging the lead and forcing them to put their rock on the center line so that the other team can't tick it. It's gonna make it more interesting for sure.
Now Team Bernath unable to survive that free guard zone period, and by that I mean unable to maintain either of their lead stones in the free guard zone down the middle, which is where they would need those guards to end up if they want to have a realistic, reasonable chance of stealing the game without getting a flat-out miss from their opponent. Now, with the free guard zone complete, they will have to hope for some type of jam or nosed peel or some type of significant miss from Team Steve Laycock. If Team Laycock can throw 5 good peels down the ice here, their skip is going to have a very open opportunity to win the game with this final rock.
Yeah, and the draw path is looking really good right now. Having, sometimes with the tick shots, you can end up kind of killing your draw path on your last shot, but just that one corner guard on the right side there, it's not going to cause any issues for Laycock on their last, which is really good. And beautiful peel here, nice and easy, kind of automatic for this team.
Yeah, they were on the outside edge of that rock, but with that kind of weight, if you contact even half an inch of the stone, it's going to go flying. So that's all he needed.
And one thing I actually wanted to bring up earlier was I believe it was Bernath I saw doing the new sweeping technique where you kind of flip your broom head when you're trying to get it to curl and kind of sweep it the long way. I don't know if that made sense, but
I think I've seen what you're talking about. Is that where they face back towards the shooter and sweep kind of into the rock?
No, actually, I think it's called, I want to say, slicing or something, but they kind of, how they have their broom heads sweeping kind of the wide way? They flip their
Yes.
broom head, so it's kind of, I guess, I want to say horizontal with the rock, and
I saw Swedish and Swiss teams doing that about
yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, and I wondered what the
Oh
heck
yeah.
they were doing.
Yeah, so
And
that's, I guess, becoming more popular. I think Team Holman was doing it this weekend at the Boost National. I want to say Anderson as well was doing it. Some of the men's teams were, and so it's becoming a bigger thing. And I think I saw Bernath doing it. I don't remember if Laycock was also trying it out as well, but it's interesting, and it's supposedly supposed to get the rock to curl more when you flip your broom head the long way around. And apparently, now I don't know if this is true or not, it also slows down the rock a little bit because it's kind of creating cuts in the ice that are straight across, and your rock is having to kind of like hop over those little scratches in the ice. Obviously, these are all minuscule scratches, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what teams pick up this new sweeping technique.
Yep. One of the most interesting storylines in curling is how long curlers went without fully understanding the properties behind sweeping, understanding what the effect their brooms, the surface, the type of broom they used. You know, it used to be my Olympic gold medal winning mother told me as I was growing up curling. This is after she had won the Olympics. It doesn't really matter what if you use a hair broom or a synthetic broom. It's all just preference. It's whatever feels comfortable in your hand. That's an Olympic gold medal winning curler not understanding the effect that they're having. And actually, if you go and look at old curling highlights, you will see sweepers sweeping on the wrong side of the rock with a hair broom, thus encouraging that rock to curl as they are calling out a sweep call, trying to keep the rock straight. Highlight level shots. Some of the most impressive shots you've ever seen with the wrong side of the rock being swept.
Yeah, they were. I've seen so many instances of that, like hair broom sweepers curling the rock. They still usually make the shot, but the sweeping in that scenario was useless, and it was actually negatively impacting.
It was actually
the
detrimental
rock.
to the success.
Yeah.
Of the shot.
So at the end of the day, it was just a workout for the sweepers, and that was all it was. But I mean, I don't blame them. I didn't understand the concept of directional sweeping for a really long time. So it's
what my mother would say in defense is that ice in those days was considerably frostier, and so even though you were kind of directionally sweeping, you still were clearing frost. You were making the rock go further, faster, and maybe you were clearing debris that would have then kind of caught on the surface of the rock and made it curl even more. So the defense to that is you still are clearing the path for the stone at a time, where ice was significantly frostier and had more debris.
Yeah, that does make sense. Hair brooms were something that I remember when directional sweeping first became a thing, or maybe just slightly before, we would use the hair broom to just break down that frost, especially during practice, because it made a huge difference in just keening up the ice. So that was definitely something that we tried doing earlier on before directional sweeping became a huge thing. And then I remember when we still used the hair brooms, we would do one hair broom and one synthetic broom, and we would, curl the rock with the hair broom and keep it straight with the synthetic broom. It's just a whole bunch of changes going on to finally get us to these, sanctioned broom heads that everyone uses in competition.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's good management of your tools that you had.
Yeah, and I think teams are still doing that.
I see Sue in the comments. Chelsea Carey calls it knifing, that technique you were describing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, now that she says that, that is completely correct.
So, Team Bernath, the end has progressed as predicted. Guard, peel, over and over again. Bernath always had it was always in his mind, when am I going to abandon the center guard and just make a play into the rings, try to get shot rock, try to create a situation where I'm going to force Steve Laycock to make some type of more difficult shot than an open draw to the rings or an open hit and stick. Looks like they'll try to hide behind this rock on the wing, not quite getting the curl. and coming up a little heavy. So taking on a more difficult path, a more difficult shot, just in the hopes of getting Steve off his game a little bit, knowing that if they throw another center guard, it's just going to be removed. So taking a chance there didn't really pay off, but the thing is, there's not much Steve Laycock can do here to help himself. Almost any rock he throws will then be either used as an obstacle or a tool to freeze against by Team Bernath. So really, they're just deciding not really what's going to help us, but what's going to not hurt us. And making me sound pretty smart, looks like they're going to just rip it through the rings, determining there is nothing we can do to help ourselves here.
Do you ever think about just killing that back yellow there? I don't think that ever helps you. I kind of feel, I mean, obviously, next shot, Bernath is going to have to freeze onto that rocks. So why not take away their only shot? I don't know.
Was my instinct as well.
Yeah.
That was my instinct as well. I think they like it because it's in the 8-foot and it forces Bernath to play something open. I think if Steve were to peel that rock out like we had discussed, Daymond Bernath would attempt the same shot he just attempted and go hide sort of along the wing.
Yeah,
With this rock in the 8-foot, Daymond Bernath cannot play that same shot because he won't be shot rock. He has to now play to the middle, where there will be either an open hit or an open draw.
That's fair. You're definitely forcing them to play a different shot, but I don't know. I think like Bernath goes behind that yellow rock again, you're set. All you can ask for as a skip is that you have a draw to the button for the win. And if Bernath draws behind that yellow, you could probably bite the 8-foot and still make your shot. So I don't know. I guess it's just preference on what he wants to play on his last shot. But to me, I think I definitely would have thought about peeling that back yellow just a little bit longer.
Well, maybe we've answered our question there with that thought, Lisa. Maybe Steve wants to hit.
Yeah.
And that's why we saw these decisions being made.
Yeah, and I definitely find I see that a lot more in men's than I do in women's. I think most women's teams would have probably picked that yellow and just planned to draw on their last shot, but I find a lot of men feel more confident in their hits, and they are going to make a nose hit probably 9 times out of 10 or more, actually. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Especially in this situation where Steve wouldn't have to stick around in the rings. All he has to do is remove the stone.
Totally.
Yeah, I think I've noticed the same thing, Lisa. Daymond Bernath's last rock, hoping to put the pressure on Steve Laycock to make his final stone. They'll be looking to freeze to this back 8-foot stone of Steve Laycock's, taking away the opportunity to hit, forcing Team Laycock to play a draw to the 4-foot. Sweepers are on this one right away.
Yeah, and they're carving it over a little bit. They've got the wide sweeper tight here. Must be a little bit wide.
Well, coaxing quite a bit of curl out of it if they can just get that weight where they need it. And it will come up shy. Some good work by the sweepers to get it that far.
Yeah, and no question here with Laycock, they are playing the hit. Probably going to throw peel weight at it, just get rid of that rock. And I think you're right about he wanted to play this shot on his last. He didn't want to play the draw, and that's fair. If you aren't super confident in your draw weight, then play what you want to play. You could hit nose on this shot and still make it, so quite a bit of room for error here.
Kind of a softer release, allowing this rock to curl a little bit. We'll manage it with sweeping. No problem. Removal of the stone means 2 points in the win for Steve Laycock. Will advance here in the S3 Group Curling Stadium Series to the semifinal, where they will play the winner of Jesse St. John and Kelly Knapp. That'll be at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Saskatchewan and Alberta time. Lisa, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'll give you guys a quick update on the game that they'll end up playing. Jesse St. John at 2 and Kelly Knapp at 5. So they're going into the 8th end, and St. John has hammer. So they're going to need 3 points here to tie. 4 points to win. So potentially looking at maybe an extra end or a win for Kelly Knapp. So we'll see how that game plays out. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on the live stream with you today. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be seeing and hearing more of you as the season goes on.
Yeah, and check me and my team out on the live stream next weekend. We're excited.
Hey, can't wait to watch. Well, thanks, audience. Feel free to jump over to one of those other games being broadcast live here, and in either case, we'll see you later today for the semifinal men's and women's event here in Swift Current. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
You know, what job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.